Hey everybody, welcome back to TechOdyssey. So today I'm here with my full review on the Realme GT. Now this is the first time I've ever reviewed a phone from these guys, so I was super excited when they reached out to me. I actually had tried to reach out to them for the last year or two, and finally our paths crossed with this global marketed device. It's not just limited to China or wherever else they market their phones at. There's some really cool stuff going on here, and one of the most obvious things here is this synthetic leather back that it has on it. It's a really, really nice phone. Of course, there are other options. They have the full glass back if you want to go that route, but I couldn't resist this one. Whenever I first saw it, I was like, this is nice. I mean, I took it out of the packaging, took it out of the box, and I had done some research while I was on its way over here, and it reminds me so much of the old Note phones that had the leather backs on them. It's just something special about it. Now that I've talked about that enough, it's got a 64 megapixel camera, a Snapdragon 888. You can get two different models, 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, or 256 and 12. It even has a 120 hertz refresh rate on this beautiful AMOLED display. So there's a lot here we're going to talk about in this video. I've been using this phone for 2 weeks now, so I feel pretty confident in tackling it and talking about my experience with it, which I got to say is pretty positive. Now, before we get into all this, I do want to say if this is your first time stopping by the channel, thank you for being here. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. Now let's talk about the Realme GT. So the first thing you're going to notice, at least in this video, is I actually color matched it. I've got the yellow lights in the background. I love these Philips Hue lights. I'm really glad I incorporated them when I built my studio. This isn't a plug. I had to pay for all this stuff. Philips doesn't send me anything. But I thought, hey, I'll pair it up. Yellow and yellow. So at first glance of the phone, you're going to notice a 6.43 inch display. It's actually a little smaller than the colossal phones that we've been seeing lately, and I like it. I love the form factor on it. It's got actually a flat screen. It doesn't have a curved edge display, which I like the curved edge display, but maybe it's because I'm primed to think that they're better. You know, Samsung has put them on their flagship phones for a long time, or their best of the best models, so we've always been inclined to think curved edge display means more expensive, more pricey, more luxurious. But it doesn't always mean that it's better. And one of the nice things you get is really good viewing angles. You don't have to worry about any of the off-angle colors. You don't have to worry about any of the shading or the shadows. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. No ghost touches on the sides. It's a really crisp-looking AMOLED panel, 120 hertz refresh rate, which if you've seen my other videos, you know I love that advanced refresh rate. So you get this nice, smooth experience when you're scrolling on the phone, playing video games, all that good stuff. I mostly notice it when I'm on Twitter because it's just so smooth whenever it's scrolling. Once you go 120 hertz, it's hard to go back, and that's why I've had such criticisms about even the iPhone with its 60 hertz refresh rate panel. But I think they're going to fix that with the iPhone 13. 16 megapixel camera on the front. You've got 3 cameras on the back. You got a 64 megapixel primary shooter. It's a Sony sensor. Then you've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel macro camera. There's no depth sensor on here. I kind of wish that they had that in there. It would have helped out maybe with some increased photo quality, but I found that it's largely not necessary because it's not really the angle that Realme was going with on this phone. It does take perfectly capable pictures, especially when you have good lighting. When you have less than ideal lighting, not so good pictures, but that's just kind of the thing. With this phone, it is one of those things where they really hammered down on the experience and the performance and the design, and then the camera is there. It's definitely capable, but it's definitely not going to win any awards like the Samsung phones, the Pixel phones, the Apple phones, all that good stuff. So perfectly capable, not the greatest at low light, but it still has the wide angle and it has the macro lens. You can take your up close National Geographic shots, like I like to call them, but they're not going to be as exciting. 2 megapixels really is like, it's almost like a sticker badge that you put on phones sometimes, because it's like they throw it in there, you get the 3 lenses, but if you look at a 5 megapixel versus a 2, there's a substantial difference there. And that's just because there's not enough detail in the image to, the more megapixels, the more pixels you have jammed into the image, the better it's going to look, especially at high resolution. 2 megapixels doesn't go very far. It's okay for looking at it on your phone, but not much else. Now, it's got a 4,500 milliamp battery. I've been really impressed with it, and apparently what Realme has done is they've found a way to manage the heat on this chip and in this phone. They have their own thermal plating in here. It's really kind of a neat thing. I watched it on another video. Mr. Mobile talked about it more. He even had the little panel that they sent to him. And I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. I think they've figured it out. Now, there's been a lot of ways that people, or companies, Samsung, OnePlus, all these guys, there have been some issues when it comes to the Snapdragon 888 and heat mitigation, and of course that degrades the battery performance, and it gets hot, it affects other things, so companies have been trying to figure that out. They tried software-based, they tried hardware-based. The thermal solution they put in here seems to work. The phone doesn't really get hot at all, at least not that I've noticed from my usage, and in addition to that, the battery life seems pretty even-keeled. Of course, that's also going to be a combination of Realme's UI 2.0, which I actually like a lot. It reminds me a little bit of OnePlus with Oxygen OS. It feels very clean and polished. I really enjoyed it. I mean, using it, they have their own setup menu, their own start menu, they have all these things, and it's very straightforward, easy to use, it's very self-explanatory, and for a global launch phone, I really think they did a good job on it. And that's really like the resounding theme for me when it comes back to this phone. They nailed the haptics. It is a pleasure to type on. I really enjoy it. It's so nice to type on the screen. The vibration, the feedback is very good. You get a beautiful screen, and it's very nice for playing games. It's great for watching video. It's great for basically doing anything. Using this phone is a pleasure. It's been very refreshing. And I've been reviewing so many phones lately, and over the last year, it's like phone after phone after phone. And I like them on their own merits, but there hasn't been a lot that's really just jumped out in the normal, non-folding, non-flipping phone environment that has just really grabbed my attention and excited me. And this phone has done that, especially at the price point. I've had a hard time nailing down the price point because it's like, well, 449 euros, I think, is what the entry price is. But when you look around online, they seem like they're going for about $500 or so, if US dollar translation. But I think it's worth it. I think they did a really good job with balancing power, performance, battery life, the screen, the aesthetics. They did a good job here. It's got a built-in screen protector. It's got also a case that comes with it, which I don't use because I said in my unboxing and first impressions that yes, it is a little on the slippery side. And it is. I mean, I almost dropped it once or twice, but I just love carrying it like this. I love feeling the leather. I love being able to just enjoy the form factor on this device. Some other stuff. It's got 65-watt charging. It's got a 65-watt charger in the box, which is going to get you recharged from 0 to 100 in 35 minutes. That's just impressive. And charging technology, what it is nowadays, I love these super fast chargers, and if it sounds familiar, they're part of the parent company, the same as Oppo and OnePlus, so yeah, they kind of have some of the same characteristics and similarities. The charging, I love the charging. 65-watt charging, recharge super fast. There's no wireless charging. There's no IP68. It appears to have Gorilla Glass 5 on the screen from what I was able to tell, and some sort of Gorilla Glass 3D or something on this glass here on the back for this little, looks almost like a racing stripe. It's really kind of cool. So I like what they did there. The smooth texture, I believe it's synthetic leather is what I was able to find out, and it looks nice. It feels nice and soft to the touch. It makes it feel super premium. Stereo speaker. So it's got a stereo speaker on the bottom right here, and then the handset speaker that you talk out of doubles as the second one. And the sound is very loud. Like, it gets really loud. I really enjoy it. Great for watching movies, great for playing games, all that good stuff. And then you've got a headphone jack on the bottom, if that's not enough, delivering 24-bit audio. You got USB-C charging on the bottom here, which is also nice. And yeah, there's some good things on here. It's dual SIM support. You can put 2 different SIM cards in here. It doesn't have expandable SD card storage, and that's basically the story for 2021. I really hate that all these companies are jumping on this bandwagon of not giving you expandable storage options. Now, I mean, some people don't realistically use it. I understand that. Native storage is always faster and better. I get that. So there are compromises there, but I wish they'd bump it up. Instead of 128 and 256, we could go to like 256 and 512. Maybe that's what we'll get for later 2021 going into 2022. When it comes to biometrics on the phone, you're completely covered. You've got a facial recognition scanner, and you've also got under the screen fingerprint technology. So you've got the fingerprint sensor. You can see it right there, always on, whether you can see what's on the screen or not. Works pretty well. Fairly accurate. I have no problems with it even here. Fire it up again, nice and quick. And then you have the facial unlock technology. Bam, unlocked. You see the unlock symbol? We'll do this one more time. You see the little face there? Bam, unlocked. So quick, fast, and reliable. Very happy with the biometrics on here. They got it incorporated pretty well. Now, battery life on this has been very consistent for me. You're gonna get 5-6 hours screen on time, no problem, I don't think. I've been using this one, and I'll just show you today. So for today, my battery usage has been 3 hours and 58 minutes of screen on time. I've got 36% battery left. I'm pretty happy with that. For a 4,500 milliamp battery, that's pretty good. I've been using like the OnePlus 9 Pro. I used the Note 20 Ultra this last year. I've used the Samsung S21 Ultra. I've used the Fold 2, and all of them seem to, I have problems with the battery. Mostly I think a lot of that is One UI. Of course with OnePlus, it's same thing. With the Snapdragon 888, it burns up a lot of battery. It's just what it does, especially when you combine it with a 120 Hz panel. 36% battery left at 4 hours. I've used it all day. It hasn't failed on me, so I'm pretty happy with that. As long as I can get about 5.5 to 6 hours of screen on time, that's pretty healthy for me. That will get me through a day. That's really what I need. This is not a 2-day phone. But for people who are not constantly burning the screen up and using it all the time like I am, it's going to last you. You're not going to have a problem. And then if you do, then you can recharge it quick, fast, and in a hurry. 35 minutes from 0 to 100 or 1 to 100, whatever it is. 100% battery, 35 minutes. Using the phone has been really nice. On the primary camera, you're capable of shooting 4K at 60 frames per second. On the front-facing selfie camera, it tops out 1080p at 30. You don't even get 60. So that's really the area where this phone doesn't keep up with the competition. Now, of course, the competition isn't at the $500 price point. The competition is much more expensive. So I don't really ding it in that department because, one, that's not the specialty, and two, when you look at the extra $200, $300, $400 that go into a lot of these phones, a lot of that goes into the camera. So that's one of the trade-offs you have here. But talking about it, here, let's go ahead. I'll show you some video footage and you can see for yourself what the microphone quality looks like. It's not the greatest in the world, I'm going to tell you, but we'll take a look at the microphone and the video quality for the front-facing camera and for the primary camera. Let's go. So this is the primary camera shooting on 4K at 60 frames per second. So you can't use the steady feature in this mode. However, if you switch it over to 1080p, you can use the video steadiness feature, which will make it a lot smoother, and it's nice. So if you're out doing some walking around and things like this, it's good to go. But what I really wanted to show off here is so you can see the quality, the resolution here. 4K video at 60 frames per second is nice. It allows you to really take in the landscape, and you can get some really nice quality video, but you can get a little bit more smoothness out of it. So especially when you're outside and you're doing things, 4K at 60 really is nice. And that's what I record in for a lot of my videos using my iPhone. So this is the 4K video at 60 frames per second. So there is a little bit of wind out here. I wanted to do one more test and show off the front-facing selfie camera, 1080p video, and here you have it. I think that it's got nice natural color representation. That's something that's good here with this camera, 16 megapixels. I think it does a pretty good job. Now, it's not 4K, it's not something that is going to be super amazing when you look up the depth chart at the bigger punching phones, the Samsung, the iPhone, the Pixels, all that good stuff. But this is a budget flagship. And of course, we say budget, I mean it's like $400 or $500, but it's got a Snapdragon 888 in it, some quality construction. It's a really impressive phone. So there are some areas of compromise, of course, but this one right here, yeah, it's not going to give you 4K, not 4K 60, none of that jazz, but I still think it's a very capable video camera. And also I wanted to retest this because, well, there's a lot of wind outside, and I want you to be able to hear what the microphone sounds like with some wind interference outside. All right, not too shabby, huh? Not the greatest in the world, not the worst. It's definitely capable, and there's a lot of neat things that you can do there with it. It'll serve you just fine, I think, in most cases. The low light is the biggest issue with this when it comes to the camera. Here's some camera samples you can see. I shot regular pictures, I shot wide angle photos, I shot some macro photos. You can see the selfie, you can see the portrait mode here. I think that it has pretty good natural color representation. Of course, the megapixels, the resolution, all that stuff is there. It's just that when you get outside the low light environment and you have ideal lighting, it's pretty good. If you've got good lighting, then that's with a lot of cameras. Good lighting takes great pictures. Whenever you get to less than ideal lighting, it's gonna fade off, and it's not gonna be as good as some of its counterparts. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here is the signal quality and the antenna. So the only issues I really have with this phone is making phone calls, and sometimes it feels like it'll take several seconds to initiate a call once I hit the call button. Sometimes it does it immediately, and I think that has to do with the network and how it works with the different interaction and stuff like that. Sometimes I press the call button and it calls immediately. Sometimes it takes a couple of seconds. Seems to be a little bit more laggy than some of the counterparts I've been using, but the real issue for me is the LTE bands and the 5G. See, it's got 5G. It's got a Snapdragon 888 processor in it, and being a global model, it does have lots of different bands here and there, but here in the States, it doesn't have a lot of the necessary frequencies like band 66 and 71 on the LTE side. It doesn't have a lot of the 5G frequencies. It works just fine. I've not had really any problems with it, but you're not going to get the speed, you're not going to get the reliability in more rural areas, especially with like T-Mobile and AT&T. Of course, it's unlocked. You can throw an unlocked GSM SIM card in there. You can have no problems with it. But there might be areas, especially in more emerging markets. If you've noticed in the last year or two that you've gotten really good signal, really good 5G, really good 4G LTE, where previously you had no coverage, those are the bands that are not going to work on this phone, and that's the problem. That's problematic, especially, like I said, if you're in a rural area. If you're in a built-up city area, urban environment like I am, you have a lot of redundancy in network frequency, so it won't be as big of a problem. But overall, I like this phone a lot. It's been really refreshing. I love this design. I mean, if you're going to get one, I definitely say go with this leather one. It's really nice. The glass back ones, they look nice. They're sharp. They're fancy. The screen is beautiful. The battery life, I think, is solid for what you get. The performance is there. I mean, Snapdragon 888, 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. You've got everything you could ask for, mostly in the power and performance metrics for a flagship phone. It just trails off a little bit in the camera, but I think even with the compromises, it's something largely I think people can be happy with. And if you want something outside of the norm, if you want to try something new, it's pretty cool. And I love the Realme UI. It's really, really nice. It's very, very fun. So that's all I've got on my review of the Realme GT. I think it's worth the price. I think it's a good phone. I've really been enjoying using it. It's had my primary SIM in it here for well over a week. I've been testing the phone for 2 weeks. And I know I put my unboxing video out the other day, but it was just delayed because I've had so many other videos lately. So it wasn't unboxing review 2 days later. I actually shot the unboxing for that like 2 weeks ago. It just took me a while to get around to it. So solid phone, solid price, interesting brand. I'm glad this is a global launch model. I'm glad I could get my hands on it. Realme did send this out. No compensation has been paid. They're not getting to see this before you are. None of that jazz. Just me and my objective thoughts and opinions on the phone. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoy the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.